What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and in today's episode of the third person and action RPG tutorial series, we are going to be going over improving our dialogue system. So as we come into the game here, we are going to go talk to our NPC, as our dialogue right now works with our NPC character here. And when we talk to this NPC, we will get our dialogue choices in the top left corner. Now this is where we left it at the previous episode. We could hover over and select a choice, but that choice didn't really do anything. It didn't get rid of the menu. It didn't stop us from selecting other choices. And so we want to further this along in today's episode. So first of all, hovering still works. When I press it, it is going to go to a different color. And then after 2 seconds, it will disappear. After that time is done, you'll notice that this menu is completely gone. Because before, we could continue to select choices. Now, if I am to exit out of this interaction and begin a new interaction, get my dialogue choices again. Another thing you also can't do is continuously click this button and force it to reappear, reslide out, get all the options to show up again. That's what we would expect from our dialogue choice menu and our dialogue choices in general. Now from here we are going to need to determine what happens when we make a selection. That goes more in depth with the actual storyboarding of our missions, of our dialogue, and these more advanced systems. But for now, just being able to actually use this menu appropriately is what we want. So by the end of this episode, you will have this result. It'll be cleaner and have any visible bugs eliminated. That's what we're going to be covering in today's episode. If you want to get caught up in the series, you can check out the entire playlist of the third person and action RPG tutorial series right here in the top right corner. You'll see how we've done things from inventory, equipping weapons, and attacking opponents. Alternatively, if you don't care about the entire series and you just care about our dialogue menu, I do recommend you watch the first episode of dialogue so that you have the menu that we're using in today's episode. It'll be an easy way to test that everything you do in today's episode works. So I'll link that in the top right corner right here. With that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. This is a code and blueprint tutorial series. We're going to be doing everything in the dialogue choice widgets today. Those widgets are blueprints, so we're going to be focusing only on the blueprints today. Now, first things first, we want to go to our blueprints and go to our widgets. We want to go to our dialogue choice menu widget. This widget right now is just a canvas panel and a vertical box, and it's going to store all of our dialogue choice items. So let's also grab that widget too. So dialogue choice item, open that up. Now we can go back to the dialogue choice menu widget and we'll start in here. There are no design changes that need to occur, so we can go into the graph. In here we have event construct, which when we create, we are adding 3 dialogue choices to our vertical box just as a debugging and test measure. This stuff is perfectly fine still. I want to look down at our dialogue chosen event. So this is what happens when we select a dialogue choice. We're going to update this logic today, and one of the main things we need is this new boolean, was choice made. So add a new variable. This is specific to each dialogue choice menu. This determines if the player has made a choice. So if they've selected a piece of dialogue or an option in this menu, this will be true, otherwise it will be false. So add a new variable. It is of type boolean. I called it was choice made, and its default value is false. Now, at the very start of dialogue chosen, I want to check this boolean because we only want to be able to choose a dialogue option if we haven't already chosen one. If we've already chosen one, we want to ignore this event completely. So simply, I want to drag my was choice made boolean in here, get it, add a branch, and only if it's false do we do any of the logic that was previously added to this dialogue chosen event. So false, then we do all the logic we were already doing. So everything that you see highlighted here was already being done. So we loop through all the children that were in the vertical box, and we asked to check if they were a dialogue choice item, because these are the only things that we can call hide choice on right now. Then we check to make sure that it wasn't the chosen item here. So whatever one was selected, because we want that one to linger a little bit longer. So if it's not the selected choice, then we were hiding the choice here. Otherwise, we weren't doing anything at all, but we are going to need to do something today. I'll explain why this is in a second, so we'll come back to this, but just take note of this. The false of this branch here is going to do something, whereas previously it wasn't. Now, on the for each loop here, where we're looping through all of the vertical box children, when this loop completes, I want to say that the choice was made, because the very first time that this event is called, we're going to enter this loop, since was choice made is false. And once this loop completes, we know we've made our choice and we've already hidden all the other choices, so we want to set was choice made to be true. So set was choice made to true. Do that on completed of the for each loop. Now let's go over to our dialog choice item widget. No design changes here either, so we can go into the graph. In the graph, we had this on pressed event, so whenever we select this with a keyboard or click this with a mouse, we are going to call this event. And we were checking to see if this owning widget existed. The owning widget is the dialog choice menu itself. If it did, we were calling that dialog chosen event we were just editing, passing in self as the chosen item. After that, we were manually setting a timer by event that was 2 seconds long, so after 2 seconds it would call hide choice. Again, we were doing this because we wanted the chosen item to stay on the screen a little bit longer as a nice visual effect. I wanted to break up the logic a little bit more so I could do some extra things with it. And so I've disabled the set timer by event. You'll see I've disconnected it. And in fact, we don't need it at all. So we can remove this event function call, and I can remove my reroute nodes. Now, hide choice was playing animation. Specifically, it's playing the little fade out animation for our dialog choices. We called it fade button. That's still going to happen. We still want to do that. But instead, I want a new event to hide the selected choice because a few other things are going to happen here. So right click, add custom event, hide selected choice. Or you could call it hide chosen choice or whatever. This is going to be what hides the chosen item. And once that item is hidden, we're going to do some extra logic. So let's go back to our dialog choice menu now. And this node that we were calling on the false of this branch is going to replace that timer logic that we just erased from dialog choice item. So there's a node set timer by function name. And the way it works is you pass in an object. We're going to pass in our dialog choice item here. So the result of the cast. Then you can add a function or event name here and call it when this timer runs out. So now we have this hide selected choice event, and I want to put that in as the function name. So hide selected choice. Time, 2 seconds is fine. It will stay 2 seconds longer than the other choices. No other settings are necessary. You put this in here. And now we're doing the same logic that we were in the previous episode, but in a better way, because now we can set up this hide selected choice event to do some other things that we didn't do the first time around. So first thing we're going to do is call our hide choice event. We still want to do everything that's in that regular event. So hide choice and call it. So after that, we need to bind an event to animation finished. So this means we wait for our fade to finish, and then we can call another event. I'm doing this because, again, we're leaving the selected choice on the screen for 2 seconds longer to indicate to the player that they've selected this choice. Once the animation is finished, I want to bind to an event. You could do another timer if you don't want to rely on the animation, but this should be perfectly fine. As long as we're always playing this animation, this will fire. So I'm going to grab my fade button animation, get it. This is the one that we were playing in hide choice. I want to drag off of this and type bind to animation finished. And so again, once this animation finishes, we will call whatever's in this delegate. So drag off the delegate, add custom event. And this one I called remove dialog choices. That's what we have here. So once this animation is done, this event gets called, and at this point we want to remove the overall widget, the dialog choice menu widget, because at this point all of the individual items or choices are hidden, and so we don't have any real need for the entire menu to be up anymore, and we should remove it and clean it up. That way we're not holding on to it, especially in games that have large amounts of dialogue. You don't want to keep track of all those widgets. Over time, that will become very taxing. So we already have the owning widget, which is our menu that we belong to, so we can get that. And we should convert it to a validated get, or just check it for validity, just to make sure everything is working as intended. And then drag off the owning widget, and we can call remove from parent which removes it from the parent widget, which is the viewport. And once it's removed from the viewport, it will be destroyed. One other thing I want to do is add a press style for our dialogue choice item. So I made a new piece of art here. So art, UI, menus, menu list, border pressed. And actually I want to rename this while I'm here to just simply menu list item pressed. That way it matches my other names. And then on the item button itself, we have our normal and hovered styles set already from the previous episode, but now in appearance, style, pressed, I've added my new image, my menu list item pressed. Just to show you, it is the same, but just a lighter blue. It's just a little bit different so that when we press it, it doesn't go back to the regular gray button. You can feel free to customize anything you want in here, but all I did was set the image. I hope this video helped you make your dialogue choice menu, or continue to make it and upgrade it. If it did, please subscribe. We have a lot more coming for dialogue choices and a dialogue system in our game, so if you're interested in checking it out, subscribing would be the right thing to do. And it really benefits the channel a lot, so thank you so much. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube membership, Patreon, and Discord supporters. You guys are amazing, and I am so grateful for you. Thank you for all the love and support. If you ran into any problems while following this tutorial or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There's a link in the description, and that support is completely free. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.